Here's how it began. We had copyrighted material, and it was offline, which meant it was pretty difficult to physically copy. And that meant that the law didn't have to worry as much about people making copies that were unauthorized, that were infringements, because it was just hard to do. And then, of course, computers come along, and it makes it a lot easier to copy and share stuff. You basically have Napster going on. You also have the idea of publishers and distributors wanting to use technology to distribute their stuff, to give you an ebook or something. And in that case, they didn't want to give you, for the most part, the gold copy. So don't think Amazon MP3 store, where you really can get an unprotected copy of a song for 99 cents, say. But think more like the iTunes store, where you download a track and then somehow there are restrictions, technical, not just legal, on what you can do with it. So anyway, there was worry that people would figure out ways around technical restrictions. They would crack the code, free whatever the content was, and then copy it indiscriminately. And while there would still be penalties for that, if indeed it infringed copyright law, in 1998, Congress passed the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which, among other things, went to make it so that it was both a criminal offense and something that a content owner could sue over if you were to hack a protected system. So if you figure out how to crack that ebook and you crack the ebook, even if you then don't infringe copyright, maybe you're engaging in a fair use, maybe you give up and go to dinner after you've cracked it, you're still in trouble under the law, potentially both criminally and civilly, for having done that hack. And it may be an independent affront from actually infringing copyright. So that's kind of the way the law was designed. Now, the law contemplated that every few years the Librarian of Congress would sit down. This is like an actual guy, and this guy would sit down and with help from staff and with input from various parties, like the Electronic Frontier Foundation coming forward and saying something, the librarian would come up with exceptions and would say, okay, here are some activities that though they might look like they might expose you to trouble under the DMCA for hacking, we're going to give them a pass. And every couple of years then, the Librarian of Congress releases those activities that are given safe harbor so that you can engage in them without fear of being in trouble. So one of those has been billed as, let's see, the quote is, computer programs that enable wireless telephone handsets to execute software applications where hacking it, of course this is my terminology now, is accomplished for the sole purpose of enabling interoperability of applications with computer programs on the telephone handset. So that does seem, no coincidence, specifically aimed at something like the iPhone so that people can jailbreak it, and for the act of jailbreaking not be gotten under these DMCA hacking provisions.
Gotcha. So it's for the act of jailbreaking, right? But what does it mean for the jailbreak community in general? For people who are, making these hacks for your phone, does that mean they're now scotch-free to do this, or is it just for that jailbreaking act? What does this exactly mean, I guess?
Well, that's a good question. The victory, and this isn't to minimize it.
Is this a victory? Yeah.
Well, the victory for those who want to hack is not trivial, even though in large part it is symbolic. I mean, here it is, an arm of the United States government saying this is actually not illegal behavior. This is okay to jailbreak your phone. Interesting thing, though, is the specific provision in Title 17 of the U.S. Code is 1201, and this is 1201A1 that says you can't hack in order to gain access to something protected by copyright. It turns out that there's another provision that says that you're not allowed to market or traffic in tools whose primary purpose is to let people hack. And the exceptions aren't permitted to be applied to that provision. So even though the Librarian of Congress has given blessing to the act of hacking here, it's not able to give a blessing to trafficking in the tools that would let you hack. So it's not...
I see. So as an individual, you're allowed to hack, jailbreak your phone as much as you want to, but you can't really market a product based on that? Is that what that means?
At least marketing a product based on that wouldn't be given an automatic get-out-of-jail-free card. They'd
see.
have to litigate all the stuff you'd normally litigate that would go back and forth if somebody wanted to go after them. Now, I would guess, for somebody like Apple or whoever has a handset that might be locked down, there's plenty of companies that do, that it's not clear how often they have turned to this provision anyway of the DMCA to try to prevent people from hacking. It does sort of take an arrow out of their quiver. They can't turn to it now or even threaten to turn to it very credibly in order to chill people engaging in this activity and perhaps exchanging informally tips on how to do it. But it doesn't stop them from using non-legal means, not illegal, but non-legal, like technical means to stop it. So if Apple wanted to promulgate an update to the phone that would brick any phone that has been jailbroken, this wouldn't apply. This wouldn't stop Apple from doing that. It kind of makes it an arms race.
So what would you do if you're Apple in this position? If you have the developer community all excited because they can now create all these jailbreak means for users, or at least they think they can. What do you do to stop that? Or do you think Apple will have any response to this?
Well, I might be the wrong person to ask, because I wrote a book that said Apple is a poster child. It's not the only one, but it is a great example of a company that has really brought computing in a curated direction, away kind of free-for-all of the PC, whether a Mac or a Windows machine or Linux from the past. So, I mean, if Apple were asking my advice, what I would tell them is, hey, you should allow developers to basically do what they want and maybe make a curated app store that's, has the AAA Apple seal of approval. But if people want to go off-roading, if they want to put their phone into 4x4 mode and they're enthused about doing it, why not let them do it? You'll sell more phones.
It doesn't seem like that's been their strategy, though. Steve Jobs has always been very controlling when it comes to the ecosystem, right? So you probably don't think that he's actually going to do that. Like you said, it could spark an arms race. That seems to be more of the likely alternative here, right?
Well, I think that's right. I mean, as I said, that advice I would have given even before the Librarian of Congress came out with this exception. Now, if it's just a matter of tactics, if we imagine that at a place like Apple or, wherever, where they're trying to figure out how to respond to this, I guess their thinking might be, we'll get our bite at the apple, as it were, another couple of years from now, because each time these exceptions get sort of re-argued. And in the meantime, okay, I guess that's one fewer legal threat we can make. But if we really want to play hardball, we'll try to get people, if they're caught trafficking in the tools by which grandma can jailbreak her iPhone, so she doesn't know how to do it innately. She wants to double-click on something. Well, we're going to try to stop the person that hands her the thing to double-click on. And if we really want to play hardball, we will be ready to avail ourselves of technical means, so that the iPhone will be a lot less fun if it's jailbroken, because it will find itself shunned and rejected by the mothership. It won't be able to use certain core Apple features if it's detected as a jailbroken phone. That might be one tactic Apple could take if it were wanting to really play hardball.
Well, thanks for all your insight, John. Once again, my guest has been Jon Zittrain, lawyer at Harvard Law. Thanks, John.
Thanks very much.